All right, cyber traders, welcome on back to put a bow on this week, this Friday, January 27th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Hopefully, I'm good to go once again on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. So, I ended up having some weird issue yesterday. I saw all these notifications pop up, and I knew I was good to go to begin. I know I'm good to go now, though. I see all of us just chatting you away there. All of us back inside the live trading room, of course. Great to see all of our usual suspects there. Mark, Jeff, Leda, Brian, had a couple more of us just a moment ago. Roger included, Ravina as well. Hey, Tesla, just the gift that keeps on giving, right? This, among a couple of other stocks, that ended up making a pretty good push for us, really from start to now. So, we'll cover those. Easy to say, but we're in a pretty healthy market heading into the end of the day, end of the week. So, with that, hopefully we get a stronger pop on the S&P and the SPY. But Tesla, obviously, to begin. What I'll do is, do I have this up still? My freaking book map ended up crashing on me a little bit earlier today. There's been a bit of an issue from them, actually. So if I can't get level 4 loaded for Tesla, my apologies. I'll try and do that here in a moment. But to go over this move briefly, it's basically rinse and repeat as to what had happened yesterday. Well, what had happened yesterday? Well, resistance got broken through. It ended up running from it, and resistance became support. Just in this case, once this thing ended up breaking above 165, 166 here, then from that point ended up continuing to push up. But even at this point, like 174, 75 area, broke above resistance. It ran the first test it held, and from that stage ended up just breaking a new high here heading into this meeting. So I'll definitely begin by putting TSLA, Tesla, on our list. If it's too expensive for you, then no sweat. If you're really itching to trade Tesla, then you could trade the single stock ETF, TSLL. This is a Tesla specific ETF. They actually recently launched this over the last 5 months, 6 months, in terms of like just offering a better option to trade Tesla if you don't trade options, that is, and if you're not really trading the equity. All right, so this is good. So I'll put both on our list. It's going to be tough for me to load up Bookmap right now, folks. Perhaps by the end of the meeting, I'll have it ready to go. But let's just go from top to bottom now. We had the BuzzFeed trade doing really well for us at the same time. So this stock once again making another strong push back up off of 350, but even from earlier today, it ended up just making a nice slingshot, ended up building up towards 3. It was testing that level, and I'll tell you what, after 10:30, for my students I was doing one-on-one coaching with, and hopefully for my student Mark coming up at 3 o'clock, it's going to be a strong day. And we had a nice day in coaching. We had a nice pop on the AUVI trade, even though that fell apart later on. But the BuzzFeed trade, much like Tesla, was the gift that kept on giving. So, ended up breaking above 3, and we were quick to jump in on this trade as it broke above 3. It could be easy to say that because, well, hey, it ended up launching up, but we talked about this in class this week. Last week, we talked about it in Traders Talk each and every week. In terms of seeing a re-break of a level, not just a break, a re-break. So we ended up having enough buying interest from pre-market, from those two shakes, as ugly as they were. Well, what happens if history could repeat itself? Not in the sense of those shakes, but in the sense of the buying. You'd like to think eventually, something's got to give. It's got to make that big push. So thankfully, it was just good timing where it ended up just re-breaking 3. I'm not in this trade now. I wish I could say I was, because this thing now is making a much better move up towards 4. I was in this trade from earlier off of 345 it was, or 346, ran it up, and then on a pullback, I tried jumping in, but then I ended up taking a 3-cent loss. So, just kind of pulled back a little further than I was expecting, built off that support that I was looking for here at 350, and now as I'm doing this meeting, it's beginning to make a nice push. So, we'll definitely put this on our list as well. The BuzzFeed trade. I'll tell you, with Tesla out there, you know how polarizing of a name Elon is. Whether you love him or hate him, it's one or the other. There's nothing in between. And not just that, but well, you're going to get a lot of people on Reddit that are following that. And for those folks on Reddit that are following that, they're going to be following, well, other social media type of stocks. GameStop, AMC, Carvana, Bed Bath Beyond, and now BuzzFeed. So I would definitely factor BuzzFeed in with these meme stock type of plays. BuzzFeed, if you're unfamiliar, is like extremely popular of a website, blogging type of website. They have like all those stupid top 10 meals in Oregon on a Thursday night. And like, just like the weirdest little lists that you could find. No hate on Oregon, but you know where I'm coming from. Just like they have all those wacky lists, best Puerto Rican foods, in the northeast of the U.S. Just weird things like that. So ended up having a nice push up the last couple of days, I guess, off of some news. But it's about time, because I thought this would have had a nice pump up at some point over the last year. It ended up having a huge hit, though, if anything. It was an IPO. So perhaps there could be more to come on this trade. It broke above historical levels that I had early this morning off of 218 and 325 area. I'd said before the home run target for me on this trade is off of 466, and we'll see if we can get that high. Oh, I didn't realize BuzzFeed had warrants. Oh, there you go. All right, well, I got the warrants out there too. It's cheaper, could make a more volatile move perhaps, but I would not necessarily suggest trading these. The order book will likely thin out quite a bit if we end up getting a better pop. So I'd rather focus on the equity itself, just the regular BuzzFeed shares. Oh, shoot, you know what? I didn't realize. There we go. My TradeStation hot list here. I was doing a little extra work that I didn't realize, but this anyway, your top percent gainer. But now we progress along. Yeah, FOXO, just classic pop and drop type of stock. Same to be said here on the AUVI. This was a nice trade, though, from mid-morning to late morning here. Ended up breaking above resistance I had from my chart this morning. I set a line off of the price 164. It had a few stabs at it, and again, very similar to the BuzzFeed trade, just that re-break. So at first I jumped in. It took me for like a -1 or -2. I jumped back in just on the next test, and pop. Ended up leading to a nice pop. Led to a nice trade. I thought I'd get more out of it on the way up towards 2, but ended up pulling back. It was still good for 15 cents. And from that stage, now at this point, not really looking too good. Now, I'll tell you a trade I missed, though, because you hear me say, oh, BuzzFeed, AUV. Not this. I completely missed out on Lucid today. LCID, personally, I completely missed out on this trade. By the time it was running up and got halted, I thought I was going to be too late. I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. I was already focused on BuzzFeed, doing well on that at that point. Well, ended up continuing to march on up, like up and up. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, it was good timing in terms of the call out, because once it was at its highs, I wrote to you folks, Mike, at some point this thing's going to get halted pretty soon, sooner than later, right? It's halted on the way down, I mean. This is one of the uglier reopens that I've ever seen. I don't know if news came out on it or not midway through, because it was a volatility halt. It wasn't a news type of halt at first, I don't believe. So let me just check to see if there was any like news that led to that gap down. But that wasn't like even a down halt. It was like it reopened up from an up halt much lower. That really doesn't happen too often. That giant gap down after an up halt. Maybe it'll get halted down after it reopens up, and that typically spells game over. So yeah, there was nothing that really came out midday as far as just like the gap down. At least, obviously the move up, it was in relation to an article being circulated for a buyout. But it's just to say that gap down here when it opens up at whatever the hell price it is. It got halted at 1780 on the way up, opened up at 15. Oh, I mean, hey, this is where we teach every one of us inside this live trading room, and this could be easy to say, right? But easy to hear too, because you hear it so often. For as much as a stock goes up, it's bound to drop twice as fast, right? Fausto was on a podcast just earlier this week. You could actually just check it out on YouTube. Just go on youtube.com and like look up Cyber Trading University podcast or Fausto podcast, either way. It's just to say, at least, he was talking about, well, hey, for as much as a stock runs up, essentially big trees fall hard. You're going to see a stock drop twice as fast as it runs up. I did not expect as big of a gap down, at least right at that moment. But for as much as it runs up, it's bound to eventually pull back. And you don't want to get stuck on the way up. And when it gaps down like that, that's a nasty reopen. Now at this point, obviously, it's just kind of chopping sideways a bit here. So I'm really not too particular about this trade. I do not recommend anyone really to try and follow the stock now at this point. As much as I say that, statistics could prove otherwise, where 1%, 2% tries to take a trade on this. Please, folks, this thing is completely washed up now at this point. I would not look to trade the stock at this stage. Is it possible it could pop or drop in a dollar manner? Yeah, absolutely, but not worth the gamble. Much easier trades to make your days pay on. All right, so let's see what else we got. Yeah, QNCX pre-market here ended up having a nice pop early, but ended up dumping off shortly after. Carvana. So Carvana, of course, we'll talk about briefly. Carvana had a nice run up, and I ended up catching a nice trade on this, at least from 765, 764 level as it pushed up. So I just thought there would be more left on this trade too. I thought it would end up building off of 8 pretty nicely. Perhaps, that'll come over time today, but as you can see now, making a bit of a lower high and pulling back like a rounded top there. So be a little careful, but I'll put CVNA on our list still. Just give it a look. Fausto's AI trade from earlier today. Is this pushing back up again? It seemed like it did before. Now it's like dragging slowly down off the highs there. But I'll tell you, it's good enough for me. It looks pretty strong here heading into the close on the way up to 18. So I'll definitely put this on our list. Not also because Fausto could be lingering around and he may see this and be like, wait, why is this not on the watch list? Are you kidding me, Josh? No, of course. We got to add this to our list here. So, it's definitely near the highs. We're going to look for this to try and break higher into the close, the re-break over 18 there. All right, just double checking social media. Good to go across the board. There we go. No tech issues today. Good. Cross my fingers. Fisker, here we go. Fisker is an EV company. They have their Fisker Ocean car. That's what I'm recalling from this trade. But I mean, hey, I guess I missed out on this as well. Like a big squeeze up heading into the mid-afternoon. There could be more left to this trade. It's kind of like fizzling around here a little bit here. So, hopefully it breaks back over 8 soon and begins to run up higher towards the high of the day there, up towards 850 and above. But yeah, I'll add this to our list as well. Just give it a look. Could have moved up with the Lucid trade. Keep that in mind, because I also saw Neo make a really good push up at the same time as Lucid. So that could have just been a sympathy play in relation to Lucid. So if Lucid's not going to make as good of a move, that's where you got to be careful. So, I'll even come back to those at the end just to kind of make sure they're not dumping off going the other way. Wayfair, wow, nice push up on this one. A little more expensive, so for anyone that trades a more expensive stock, definitely put that on your personal watch list. I already have Tesla on there. GameStop, similar to the Carvana trade and BuzzFeed trades, more of a meme, Reddit, Wall Street bets type of play. Definitely looking strong going into the close. I ended up taking a couple of small losses on AMC, like -2, then -3. So ended up trying to make that pop earlier, and I thought it was going to go with Carvana and BuzzFeed and GameStop. But it was kind of weak compared to the others. Now that I'm looking at AMC, it's like kind of luring me back in, and it's up near 5%. It's trending up pretty nicely. It's definitely tradable. Bed Bath Beyond. This ain't looking good. That's not looking like a good trade right there. So I'll pass on Bed Bath. If anything, maybe I'll slip AMC just on the bottom of our list here for now. All right. So, hey, let me hop over to the losers list right now. I don't expect to find a whole lot. Market on the way up right now. So we'll see if there's anything looking just as good, perhaps, as a short. Maybe pluck something from this loser side. CRC, not a whole lot happening there. Got to send out my coaching link to my 3 o'clock coming up as well, so that'll come out soon, Mark. My apologies. Let's take a look. Anything here on the bottom? Nah, not much else. I think that looks too good. Mara down over 7%. Hard to borrow, so pulling back a little bit after the week that it's had, but markets are at the highs. Crypto's doing pretty good for right now, so maybe Monday we'll see a nicer move on Mara, unless if crypto completely drops over the weekend. But I'll tell you what, folks, I think that's just about it. I don't really see much else out there heading into the close. If there's anything else that you see, up, down, left, right, more than 5%, type it in the chat board. Definitely let me know. From Dan, GOEV, if you haven't went over it yet. I have not. That's also an EV stock. GoEV, right? Canoe. So this is actually making a strong push right now, but this stock infamously inside our live trading room, Dan, has been a big tease. So that's where you got to be careful, but it's on a nice move for now, and it's actually breaking above multi-day highs and breaking above the highs of this week, of course. So, yeah, GOEV I'll add to our list. Looks good. More of a level 1, level 2 type of stock. I got one of our longtime students, Mike, joining us on YouTube today rather than inside the live trading room. Maybe he's traveling there. Mike, great to see you, and have a great weekend, man. Have you back next week. I appreciate the lovely words, saying great classes this week. Thank you very much. From Ravina Intel, I'm sorry, just checking back inside the cyber group room right now from Ravina, one of our platinum students here. Intel, too slow. Way too slow right now. Intel is doing what it normally does. It is a choppy trade. It's a stock that trades a lot of volume day to day. And with that, it just typically trades in a tighter range as well, especially compared to the other semis. Not only that, but Intel also reported horrifically bad earnings. So if you're looking for a move up on a stock that's reporting down earnings, it's really tough ask. So I was way more inclined to look for the short this morning, and it ended up running up pretty nicely. So, I didn't have much of an opportunity up until 8:20 when it made the over and under, but I missed it even from that point. So it pulled back below 28. I ended up getting a few trades off from there, but I didn't really get what I wanted in full, right? Markets are grinding up. It's hard to swim upstream as well. So it just doesn't really provide much of anything, right? In an up market on a stock that's reporting down earnings, unless if it's literally at the lows of the day and showing that great trend in direction, then it's going to be tough. All right. I'll tell you, I mean, for right now, we got a good list here, folks. 2, 4, 6, 8 different stocks, 8 different equities, that is, and then the ETF, the Tesla ETF there, TSLL. So, if you're not doing the stock there, you could do the ETF. All right, I got one for you, and I don't know what the chart looks like here. I'm getting it from Benzinga Pro, but here's the thing. If you want to follow INTC, you can, but you could be wasting your time. There could be a new pop, a better trade ahead. A stock like GNS, it's still up over 18% and making a new pop here. So the chart looks good. The order book, little thin on the order book side, but I'll add this to our list as well. This will make the cut, at least for the meantime. And then just to check out a couple more before I wrap up here. FOXO, FOXO. I don't know. It's trying to bounce back up over $1. I feel like it's going to hold resistance there. It was big support from earlier. Support should become resistance, and it pulls back. So I'm not really fully sold on that just yet. And then the Lucid trade, I said I'd get back to, I guess. But, I mean, listen, at your discretion, if you're looking to trade it, I can't stop you. I'm not going to be trading the stock. So I'm going to hit the pass button on this trade for right now. Brian asking about PLTR, Palantir. That was one from that stupid NYSE error that we had back on Tuesday this week. That was one of the ones that we saw got halted and made a big pop. I had a weird feel over time that could eventually trigger some future short covering on this trade. We're in an up market right now, mind you, so Palantir is moving up, but it's only a 5%, but it's also just a slower moving trade. So if it ends up gaining a lot more steam and you're already in from 740, God bless, right? But to call it out as a trade for the next hour, it's tough. I'd rather focus on something that just is moving a little faster, let alone at the highs. This is at the highs and looking great as a trade, Brian. So if anyone's already in, hey, I hope they're doing good. But, it just looks a little slow. So if I'm wrong on that and it explodes into the close, God bless. We'll try and react from that point. That's where it's going to be a little challenging to try and condense a watch list out there today. I feel like right now we're pretty good. We're pretty set. All right, folks. So, hey, enjoy the weekend for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. If you have any other questions, feel more than free to send it over to my email address, josh@ctutrading.com. Always like to post my email there at the end of the streams here. So if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me a quick email. Otherwise, if you're interested in joining our live trading room Monday through Friday, we do live audio commentary from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 Eastern time, as well as coming up from 3 to 4 p.m. as well. So Rich will be on the mic going into the close for Leda and Grant, Mark, Michael, John, all of us there live right now. But otherwise, hey, I'll be there up until 3:30, chatting away with you folks. Hopefully myself and Mark catch a nice trade on our coaching call ahead. So I look forward to it, folks. Talk to you soon and enjoy the weekend.